Hello, members. Tom Morrison here from the Metal Trading Institute's national office in Nashville, Tennessee. We're so glad you're with us today to talk about how to do business with the government, federal or state, more effectively. And before we get into that, get started with that. So I always like to remind everybody that if you have any questions for our guests, our panelists, you can go down to click the chat on the bottom of this page, and a chat box pops up on the right-hand side here, and you can type in your question or your comment, and we will definitely answer those questions. I'll be monitoring those for you so we can get you your answers. So we got a couple of MTI happenings that are really exciting going on right now. We got lots of activity going on in our Technical Standards Committee, our Education Committee with training, and Safety Committee is about to put out some new documents come the end of this summer. They're right now working on 4 template documents. A lot of people struggle with having good online practices and documents around lockout, tagout, elevated work, confined space, and arc flash. And by our fall meeting in October, that team is going to be done with their work, and they're going to have 4 template documents where you literally can just stick your cut and paste and stick your name in the document, and you have a full-blown lockout, tagout company policy that was generated by OSHA, as well as the elevated work, confined space, and arc flash. So those are something to really be looking forward to really revamp your safety operation. And then we have 2 MTI meetings coming up. They're going to be exciting. So we have the Midwest Chapter Golf Outing with dinner on August 5th. If you're in the Midwest region or you're a supplier that wants to come and hang out with heat treaters, it's a great day starting at noon that goes through about 7 or 8:30 with dinner and awards. And it's a great time to connect them with the local Midwest chapter heat treaters and members and talk about the industry issues that are on your mind. The second big meeting is our big fall meeting coming up off the heels of our very successful spring meeting. That's going to be October 4th through the 6th in San Antonio, Texas. And we're very excited to be there. We're going to have a great crowd. We're going to have our awards and leadership ceremony, tons of networking, incredible education focused on how to get people and do work differently. And then our Yes graduating class for 2021 is going to take place there as well. So lots of exciting stuff going on in MTI to give you value and drive your business, your profits, and your productivity. But today, we're here to talk about if you want to do business with a state or federal government agency, we're here to talk about that today and how you do that. And we got, Doug, is it Durliat?
That's perfect. That's pretty good.
So we got Doug Durliat from the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. Doug came highly recommended to us by Ben Bernard, one of our great suppliers from surface combustion who do business. A lot of our members do business with government agencies. And Doug, real quick before we jump into the content, give a little 60 seconds on who you are, your background, and why we have you here today.
Well, I'm currently the Northwest Ohio coordinator for the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, which is PTAC, and it's based at Rhodes State College, which is in Lima, Ohio, which is in the west central part of the state. And what I'll be talking about in the presentation is just PTACs are nationwide. I just happen to represent Northwestern Ohio, and it's just it's the latest of my career. I'm into government contracting, but I've had 15 years of experience in workforce development, administering some offices, and taught some manufacturing pathway classes and so forth. So, and here I am now coordinating government contracting, which if you'd asked me that about 20 years ago, I'd have said, no way, but here we are.
Awesome. Well, now, I think when most people think of doing business with the government, they think of lots of hoops, obstacles, and red tape to walk through. And so share with us some of when our listeners are listening today, or when they look at them, we got a lot of people that listen to these post meeting. So anybody listening in, what are some of the big challenges that you do see that a lot of owners run into or with buyers in the government process? What are some of the challenges they're going to probably face?
Well, I think a lot of times people underestimate just the time you should dedicate if you're going to make government contracting a part of your business. We do not advocate that government contracts should be your sole source of revenue. We advocate that it should be one of the buckets in your revenue generating. The government is going to be a pretty consistent buyer. And if you've established yourself as a reliable supplier of products and services, that's going to be a pretty steady stream. And the scenario I typically tell a client is just think if and when the economy goes on a downturn and the private sector contracts. Well, if you've got a well-established government-funded contracting bucket to generate revenue, that smooths out the valleys. And we'd like to think we're going to train people to think in those terms. But what you were alluding to in your opening remarks, Yeah, it is a lot of hoops. It can be pretty imposing if you've never been around it before. The companies that are successful have learned to work with it. They get a system going. They understand, what you've got to do, how you do things, and so forth. And we provide some information too to help them plan ahead. Your federal government agencies, especially, whether it's Homeland Security, Department of Agriculture, or your defense industries, they'll have quarterly forecasts on what they're planning to buy in whatever quarter of whatever year. And if you get a nice system going and you access that kind of information and you can see down the road what agency is buying your product, your service 6 months, 9 months, 12 months down the road, that helps streamline things a little bit better.
Right. Now, when you look at government spending, a lot of people know where government spends. So is there any projections or things that you can comment on about like the next 5 to 10 years? I mean, any projections on government spending at all, whether it'll go up or down or stay the same?
Well, what I can tell you is it's been pretty steady. It's in the hundreds of millions of dollars. I had that number right before me. Unfortunately, I had to take it out when I was preparing a website. But yeah, the federal government buys in the hundreds of billions of dollars a year, and it's anything and everything. Naturally, it's in the defense industry. That's a big chunk of it. But they also buy manufactured products. They also buy processes, engineering services, consulting services, and so forth. Anything that a consumer can buy, the government buys. And if you are proficient in producing that product and that service, you can, rest assured that the government, some agency, is interested in buying your product.
Well, I think that's good news for our members to hear, because a lot of our members heat treat metal in the military, and there's a lot of metal in the military with ammunition, tanks, aerospace, aircraft carriers and stuff like that. So it's a lot of good stuff in there. And hey, here's the thing. If they drop any trillions of dollars on this infrastructure, there's a lot of metal out there for infrastructure as well, with roads and buildings and those kind of things. That's all good news to hear. So tell us about PTAC. What exactly do they do, and what's kind of their purpose?
Well, it was originally established under the Department of Defense, and I'm not sure how it's done every state, but in the case of the state of Ohio, those defense dollars then are appropriated from the Department of Development in the state of Ohio. It may be structured differently in the other 49 states. It may be similar in 49 states. But it's a federal allocation. It's handed to the state, and then the state allocates it. And in Ohio, we've got regional PTAC centers, and we divide the state up into sectors so that we can deliver services and provide as much personable services as possible to the clients in the counties that we have been assigned. And their purpose is to provide any kind of assistance short of actually sitting and filling out their SAM application or their DIBS application. We're not allowed to do that. But we can provide materials, and if you have any questions when you're completing your SAM application, or if you want to get into GSA, DIBS, or whatever, we can set up face-to-face when the pandemic finally does go away. But for now, we're doing things virtual. If you do have questions, if you have some kind of problem knowing exactly what they're looking for in a particular part of an application, well, we've got some people around the state who are experts in any sector, and we can help you out and help you walk through that application process. The other thing too is we can point you to directions. I was alluding to it a little bit earlier. You're wondering, what agency is going to buy what? Well, we'll point you to some websites where they'll tell you what the buying forecasts are for respective federal agencies and help you out on your planning for that. We have a number of free webinars which cover just about any topic that pertains to government contracting. How do you get your GSA account established? If you're a military contractor, they want you to be in WAF, the workforce, WAWF is what is the abbreviation. And, you need to be in WAF to be able to set up to do the accounting that's necessary to be a defense contractor. We've got webinars that help you get registered and get established for that. Like I said, anything pertaining to federal and state contracting, we can help you out and give you the best chance possible to be a successful contractor.
A lot of people are thinking, he said they provide services, and looks like they got a lot behind them to help out. And they're probably asking, what's this cost me, Doug? I mean, for anybody to engage what y'all do, what could they expect to pay, if anything? How is PTAC funded?
Well, since it is publicly funded through the federal and the state government, our services in Ohio anyway, all of our services are at no cost.
That's awesome.
This includes bid match services in Ohio, and that has a value to a lot of people. It's my understanding that some states may charge for bid match services from their PTACs, but there are private companies which will help you out complete your SAM application, which will help you get registered in GSA and so forth. But they charge a fee for your services. We do these at no cost. It's your taxpayer dollars at work.
So for anybody that is really not familiar with it, I mean, I'm certainly not as familiar as many people might be, and you are. So explain a little bit the internal structure. What's bids match, and what's the SAMS form and the DIBS form?
If you want to get into federal contracting, you have to be registered under the Systems for Awards Management, and they call it SAM. Mm-hmm. And to get registered in that, you need to dedicate an hour to an hour and a half, because they ask for a lot of information on yourself and your company, contact information, bank routing numbers, all kinds of information on your business to get you set up to be a federal contractor. Like I said, it takes some time. You need to be prepared in order for it to go as smoothly as possible. Once you get that taken care of, then you got to renew your SAM annually, and they'll give you that month warning that your SAM needs to be renewed by this date. And they're pretty good. If you go past 1 day past that deadline, then your SAM account is invalid, and you got to go and renew it if you're going to be in the hunt for federal contracting again.
Right. Awesome. So what's the bids match part?
What that is we sit down with the client, virtually or in person, and we do some research on their company. What are your products? What are your services? We find your NAICS codes, your North American Industry Classification Services codes, and product and service codes. And we have a search engine in PTAC. In Ohio, we call it PT Assist. And we set up a search engine based on things that pertain to your company, and they generate potential leads. And every day around midday, our PTAC clients will get an email alerting them to their PTAC leads. And, this isn't etched in stone once we get it created. If you're finding out that you're not getting satisfactory leads, we'll meet again and we'll do some adjusting. I've had a few cases where we had too many product and service codes, and they were just getting slammed, several hundred leads, and that's just not enough time in the day to review all of those leads for federal contracting. We just want to get the right number that's manageable and that are efficient for you to pursue. And once you find that lead that you think you can buy a contract with, then you need to go through the steps. There's links that you click. They give you the directions on who the contracting officer is and who you contact for questions. What information they want. Do they want 5-page proposal? Do you need any other kind of information required? And that's where our opening comments came in, where it can be kind of imposing if you haven't been around that before.
Right.
But if you've got some people here who understand how it works and they become more and more comfortable with it, it becomes less and less imposing than those first couple of times you might take a crack at coming in with a contract proposal. And I might say, don't expect the contracts to roll in immediately once you send in some proposals. There is an old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And it's always good, and we coach people into doing this, is that if you for example, you produce face masks, that's a pretty hot item to try to get into the world of contracting.
Right.
It's always good to know, get some contacts established within FEMA and some other agencies. let yourself be known. Send out a capability statement which outlines what your business is all about. You know, how many years you've been in business. You got some testimonials in that capability statement from some people who said that, yeah, you make a good product. We highly recommend you. You know, you got to be pretty aggressive if you want to be successful.
So I was going to ask, my next question would be, so is it a highly competitive element when you're trying to get the government work?
In some markets it is. The face mask market is extremely competitive.
Right.
I've had a number of new clients come in and, you know, they say, I'd like to market my face mask. And I said, well, you know, just expect to be a little more realistic about it. You need to find, you know, you need to find somebody who's willing to listen to you. And then you got to prove yourself to be a good supplier. Because a lot of people already do supply face masks and they've proven to be pretty reliable suppliers. But there's some others that are so specialized, you might be able to get in relatively easy. If you have that specialized of a product that very, very few people produce, or a service that very few people produce, you know, it might not be as imposing to get into the world of contracting with that.
So what is the biggest mistakes you see that people start running down this path? What are the mistakes they need to not do?
If you do submit a proposal, be realistic about what your capabilities are. Don't promise that government agency the sun and the moon when you can't deliver it. I've not personally been involved with any client that had that issue, but my colleagues around Ohio have given some anecdotes where they said that they could do this, that, and the other thing, and they couldn't, and they got into trouble. If you can't deliver, and then, you know, you get kind of put behind the 8 ball, and then your reputation gets bad, and it might be hard to land another contract again.
Well, you talked about that there's PTAC regions in every state. And I know it looks like you've put the link up there. Any members that want to tap into that, they can look up at the top there and get the link to do that. So talk about all the different states and stuff. I mean, does every state have a PTAC office?
Yes, every state does. As I alluded earlier, they might be structured a little differently in terms of how many there are. You know, Ohio's divided up into 6 regions. Other states, it just might be one PTAC covering the whole state. Some states are more generous with their benefits than others. Ohio, anything that PTAC can deliver, we offer at no cost. It's my understanding that with some states, they might charge a fee for bid match, but they provide a lot of other services at no cost. Yeah, that link that I put on the screen, that I put in the chat box, what you'll see is the home page for APTAC. And what you'll see on the home page is a map of the United States, and you can click whatever state that you want to inquire about, and it'll tell you who all of the PTAC personnel are and who covers what region in that state. And it's a pretty good resource to get started with PTAC. You can see what part of the state you're from, who's coordinating PTAC in your respective state. Give them a call, tell them that you would like to know more about PTAC, and then you could be on your way to becoming a client.
Awesome. Well, for anybody that's listening to this after we've done this live interview and you can't see the chat box, you want to go to www.aptac-us.org. That's aptac-us.org, and that'll take you right to the map that he's talking about. So Doug, so I know you talked a little bit about what they buy, but what's the depth of what the federal government buys and state governments? I mean, what are the different types of things that they buy?
Speaking for Northwestern Ohio, the most dollars generated comes from road projects. We've got one client in Northwestern Ohio that, you know, brings in millions of dollars a year in contracts. Second highest, I'd say, would be engineering services. You know, if especially for various you know, construction projects and so forth. There are some companies in Northwestern Ohio that do pretty good business. Got another company that might go back to what I was saying earlier about you know, having a specialized product. They make rubber products and sheet rubber products, and apparently not a lot of companies do that, but they do pretty good business as well. They're in the hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And it's not one great big contract. It's a few $1,000s here and a few $1,000s there, and it adds up into the hundreds of thousands of dollars when the year is all done. Those I would say are the most popular. And then, we've got the General Dynamics tank plant in Lima, Ohio. And there are some companies that are suppliers for that, and that's a pretty good thing to get into. If you're a high-tech machining company and you can make great parts for tanks or whatever the products are that General Dynamics produces, that could be pretty lucrative too. And if you've got another supplier in your region, and in Ohio, we're fortunate to be in pretty close proximity to the NASA John Glenn Center on the west side of Cleveland. We've got the tank plant in Lima. We've got Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton. And we also have the Defense Logistics Agency. There's only 6 DLAs in the United States, and one of them's in Columbus, Ohio. So, there's a lot of opportunity in Ohio for getting into federal contracting and for just about any kind of product or service imaginable.
Right. Well, I would imagine, because the next question came from one of our members here from Manuel. Does the government buy heat treating services? I would suspect they do.
You were cutting out when you were asking, what was the product?
Does the government buy heat treating services? Our members are heat treaters. That's obviously a big thing they'd want them to be buying.
Yeah, and it might be through a subcontract. The prime contract might go to somebody who makes the part, but they don't have a very robust heat treating system. And that's where you need to know who the suppliers are in your area and then get in good graces with them to be their heat treat company of choice.
So does any subprime have to be registered with the government as well?
Yes. Yeah, you need to be registered in SAM. And if you're into making parts for the military, you need to be registered in the Defense Logistics Agency Internet Bid Board System, or what we call DIBS.
Gotcha. So when you look at all the buying that's going on with the government, is there anything that is there any pie charts you could break it down? Like, I remember heat treat a lot of military stuff. So what percent of the pie does military represent?
A big chunk of it. And if you give me a minute here, I should have I had that chart of just how the federal breakdown was.
Is it more than 50%?
Yeah. That's that. And like I said, if I can find that, I will pull that up in just a minute here.
Okay, so while you're doing that, so let's look at the services. I know y'all do a lot of consulting services and assistance services with owners. So let me ask you this. What are the types of size of businesses that y'all work with?
We've got mom and pop types businesses, less than 10 employees. And we tend to go with small, medium size. When you get into a really large company, they're pretty self-sufficient.
Right.
So I think our sweet spot is anywhere from 100 to 500 employees, but we do have a number of mom and pop type businesses. They might be the sole business, or they've got 5 to 10 people in it. And depending on what kind of a product or service that they produce, they can be successful in getting contracts.
Right. Awesome. So what are the other types of services that PTAC offers to the clients out there? I know y'all do some information type stuff. So what do y'all provide?
Well, in the federal government, they do have target percentages of what their total purchases should be. If you're a veteran-owned small business, if you're a woman-owned small business, if your business is located in an economically distressed area, they've got some targets. Anywhere from 3 to 10% of their total purchases are targeted to be from any of those different categories. And you need to be officially registered in these programs. Some of the economically distressed programs that I was referring to are like 8A or Hub Zone. Hub Zone, a lot of your local governments, they've got an area for whatever reason was designated because of economic distress. And if you're located in that Hub Zone, and if a majority of your workforce lives within that Hub Zone, you can qualify for that. And it's not going to mean you're going to automatically get contracts. It just means you get more points or get more consideration for a proposal that you submit. Same with women-owned small business, service disabled or veteran-owned small businesses. There's target percentages of what the federal government wants to reach. And, if you're a veteran and you're registered as a VOSB, or if you were service disabled veteran, again, you get registered as one of them. You get a few more points toward consideration of landing the contract.
Right.
And we provide assistance in getting registered into those respective programs.
So I know you obviously start at the beginning, the application stage, and I take it that you really handhold as much as needed all the way through the award stage?
As much as possible. Again, we can't write the proposals, and we can't provide legal counsel. If for example, if you want to file a protest on a bid that you didn't think was awarded legitimately, we can't provide legal counsel or anything like that. We can, help you as much as we can, but we're not legal counsel. We don't fill the SAM application for you or any of the other applications for you. But that's about, where we go. We'll help you as much as we can. If you have questions, if you want us to look over your proposal before you submit it, we've done that. If you have questions about your capability statement, which is kind of like a resume for your business, we actually have a rubric that we grade it on. Depending on, what information you have and where it's located on your capability statement, we've got a point system on that. And, if you score an 80 or better, we say that's a pretty good capability statement. If it doesn't quite score that high, we recommend, you need to add some information or rearrange where your information is in order for it to be a good one.
In other words, you can't do the fishing for them, but you can teach them how to fish.
That's basically a good analogy. Yeah.
Awesome. So one of our members asked a question. This is a great question. So the businesses that are awarded, the manufacturers that are awarded these government contracts that you might want to tie your business to help do the subprime work, is that public information? Do they make announcements when they award, or is that information known someplace?
Well, yeah, I talk about SAM. SAM was recently merged with a lot of other websites just in the last few months. And one of the websites that was merged with it was beta.sam.gov. Well, now it's all under just sam.gov. And you can go in, if you've got, a SAM account, if you're registered with SAM, you can go into beta.sam.gov, what was beta.sam, and you can see what agency is buying, from whom, how much did they pay. There's a lot of resource there. I'll send this caveat out though. It's something that you gotta, really work at and study to know how to navigate it. But once you do that, there's a lot of information on there that can really help you out. It might help you determine on what kind of a price you want to submit as part of your cost, and just a lot of other history, just other good information based on what patterns of government agencies has been.
So really kind of put what I've heard so far. So a couple of things, and you add anything that you feel, just so members I can kind of break it down for them. So one, if you go do business with the government, you got to be willing to give them every bit of information they're going to ask for, because they're going to ask for everything. Two, you got to be real about all the services that you can supply. You don't want to overstep that and do what sometimes salespeople do, which is to oversell it, but be real about what your services are. So when you deliver those, you've got a good reputation. Get your dibs go on the SAMs, register, get your dibs and all that stuff really done well, so you can be in the contract line of contracting. And then the last thing is just contact PTAC to be able to engage those services, because most of them are going to be free for them to take advantage of. I mean, is there any other steps that we should put in there that members should keep in mind?
Well, the other thing too, we provide real-time webinars, and these are free. We either in Ohio, we have people who give webinars on just about any topic pertaining to contracting, and you can watch it in real time. Or if you don't have the ability to watch it when it's being delivered live, they do archive it, and a week or two later, you'd be able to access it and watch it on your own time. Same at the federal level. We subscribe to a service called Govology. And again, they have some very proficient experts on anything in government contracting. And we alert our members. And typically, if you wanted to watch a Govology webinar, it's $75 a pop, but we're able to get them a password where they can waive that fee. And they can watch it in real time for free, or they can watch the archived version at no cost. And again, if you've got a question, I've got some new clients, for example, that I've spoken with in the last couple of weeks. They just asked, do you have some kind of a primer that can just give me a basic understanding of what I'm getting into now? And they do. They had one, and I gave them the link and the instructions on how to waive the fee. And I'm hoping that they're watching it and taking the advice that it comes from it. But yeah, anything that we can do help of actually, short of filling things out for them, we'll try to help them out the best we can.
Awesome. So anything that we haven't talked about that you think really is important for people to know trying to do business with federal or state agencies?
I think we covered about all of the bases. We talked about how PTACs are funded and what we charge and so forth. If you do have any kind of interest in pursuing government contracting, there's no obligation, but just do a little searching and make a determination if government contracting would be right for you. Back to what I was saying earlier, you should not look at that as being your sole source of revenue in your business, but it should be one of several buckets that you have that can be a revenue stream for your company, and it'll level out those peaks and valleys whenever the economy does a little downturn.
Right. So is the main website aptac.org, or what's the main website that they can go to start looking at anything?
Well, what they can do, that's a start, and you can click your state and they'll give you the websites and for your respective state PTAC. In Ohio, they've got their own website, and they have archives of webinars. They'll tell you success stories, who the administration is, and so forth. And the states, the other 49 states, are going to give you similar information as well.
Awesome, Doug. Well, Doug, members, we know that one thing's for sure for government, they're going to spend money. And you want to get in the middle of that if you can. It can be a nice set of business, I think, especially if we ever see downturns in the economy, because they continue to spend on roads, buildings, and stuff like that. So, Doug, thank you very much for your time today. And members, remember, go out to aptac/us.org and click on your state and see what you can do to start getting in the loop of these government contracts. And we're glad to be here. This is what MTI is all about, to bring you these free webcasts that can bring you resources and information that can help you grow your business for the future. So thank you for being here. Don't remember to put August 19th on your schedule. That's August 19th. Tell your people in sales, because we're going to hopefully find a great speaker on the electrification of automobiles and what the impact the industries like heat treating is going to be as electric cars begin to roll out the next 10 years in big waves. So thank you so much for being on MTI Webcast today. I look forward to seeing you soon, and you're MTI strong, my friends. Y'all take care. Have a great day. Thank you, Doug.
And thank you, Tom.